when you're having a baby, there's a lot on your mind. At Northwell's Staten Island University Hospital, you can rest easy with our reimagined labor and delivery experience. Our new Grapuso Women and Newborn Center provides private suites, overnight accommodations for a loved one, and a top-level NICU, all powered by the team that cares for the most moms and babies in New York. It's care made for Staten Island and made for you. Visit northwell.edu/newbaby. Staten Island University Hospital. Raise health.
At New Balance, we believe if you run, you're a runner. However you choose to do it. Because when you're not worried about doing things the right way, you're free to discover your way. And that's what running is all about. Run your way at newbalance.com/running.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
So we have heard panicked predictions that President Trump's trade and economic policies were a surefire recipe for a recession. Here's some numbers that tell a very different story. So far, 63% of S&P 500 companies have posted their second quarter results. Of them, 81% have beat expectations on how much money their company kept after expenses. 79% of those companies reported taking in more revenue than anticipated. Second quarter earnings were expected to rise 5.8% from last year, but have nearly doubled that amount. And after the S&P 500 hit a low back in April, it's gained more than 28% in value since then, and in recent weeks repeatedly topped its all-time highs. All right. So take
that to the bank. Welcome to the Friday edition, my friends of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour, the fastest hour in American media. The jobs numbers came out today, and liberals are having cows. They have their panties in a wad. They are salivating because the news on jobs wasn't as good as people had hoped for, as the administration had hoped for. And that has caused someone to lose their job, by the way. Another job added to the jobless rolls. The person that put together the jobs numbers, gone or will be gone, depending on which news account you believe. The story is that employers pulled back on hiring. They added 73,000 jobs to the economy last month. That's the jobs number. That's what the Labor Department said today. Lower than economists' expectations. The unemployment rate rose slightly to 4.2%. By the way, it used to be common knowledge and a common deal before Obama recalculated under the Obama administrations the way that the jobs numbers were established. And so, according to that, we've had full unemployment. It used to be 5% was considered the country had full employment. It's been full employment for a long time. So these little ticks that went up 0.1%, which, is a kind of a rounding error. It could be seen as a rounding error. And a sign that the labor market may not have been as robust as seemed earlier this year. Job gains from the previous 2 months were also revised downward by a total of 258,000, an unusually high number. So you have that. Donald Trump not happy with it, call for the firing of the head of the agency that produces these figures. He said that the person that ran the jobs numbers, Erica McIntyre, the director of Bureau of Labor Statistics appointed by Joe Biden, should be fired. I've directed my team to fire this Biden political appointee immediately. She'll be replaced with someone much more competent and qualified. Of course, ABC News, one of those not happy with this. Trump fires BLS commissioner after weak jobs report and baseless claim of fake stats. In a social media post, Trump volleyed sharp criticism and baseless accusations against Erica McIntyre, a Biden appointee who was confirmed by the Senate in 2024. I've directed my team, you just heard that, to fire this Biden political appointee, et cetera, et cetera. Well, we'll see. And the weak job performance, some are blaming on uncertainty tied to the fate of last month of the domestic spending legislation, the big, beautiful bill, as well as people unsure about the ultimate outcome of the tariff policies. I read an article, which maybe we'll have time for later, from Fareed Zakaria. I think it was in Washington Post today. And he's claiming that Donald Trump has ruined the world order, the beautiful, peaceful, prosperous world order of tariffs by his moves. And these people, and of course, by the way, nothing could be further than the truth. Donald Trump is actually setting the stage for America to do wonderful, incredible things in the view of Trump supporters who have optimism. And I happen to be one of them. I'm very optimistic. But with all major changes, there are going to be some uncertainties. There also is going to be pain. You know, human beings, I think many of us share this belief, if not have had experience that validate those beliefs, that change is often very uncomfortable and very painful. I just got an AP alert about a shooting, another one of these mass shootings. Multiple people shot where in Montana at a Montana business. Just every day there's something like this, that horrible shooting in New York. And then New York, New Yorkers have to be feeling, I am a New Yorker, by the way, have to be feeling a little bit, how shall we say, besieged, especially if they were taking the subway home yesterday and trying some certain locations and trying to, what was the good old song, wade through the water, because it was there. I saw one video. The water was pouring through the walls of a subway station. You see others on subway cars, and they have to hold their feet up in the air, or their feet are getting drenched in water. And I just thought, what happened to those trillions of dollars of infrastructure spending, that $1 trillion almost, that bite me? Obama spent about $1 trillion on infrastructure. Then Biden came in, another one of these big, whopping, gazillion dollar infrastructure deals. How come New York's infrastructure is falling apart?
I don't know. All I know is that the fare is going to be $3 by 2026.
Yeah, and then on top of that, they're raising the fares. They're raising the fares so that you can pay a higher price to take your life in your hands if you're in certain parts of town.
And also, this was the second time this month that the subway flooded.
Yeah. So, I mean, New York.
Trying to find Dory and Nemo down there, it was fun.
But don't worry, if you guys go ahead and elect that socialist, Ma'am Dami, you'll have at least government grocery stores with nothing in it.
We could swim there, too, yeah, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, you can swim to the grocery store. What'd you say, Jonas?
I would not be one of the people voting for him.
Oh, you're not? Oh, I see. Don't like the idea. Well, do you have to swim home in when it rains heavily in New York?
No, thank God. I got to learn how to swim.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, one of the big loudmouths is chiming in on the job number. You know, I really try hard not to call people names. I mean, outside of a little joking name, like I have called this guy Gasm. That'll let you know who I'm talking about, Gasm. But, I mean, I try not to call people harsh names. Names that would, I guess, give a chance to vent the rage that I feel. This guy triggers me. Every time I see something that he said, it triggers me. Gavin Newsom warns Trump crashing economy as job numbers are revised down. Newsom said the July jobs report was way below expectations, blah, 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 blah. But then he said, we haven't seen conditions like these since 2020. Don't let Donald Trump gaslight you. He is failing Americans and crashing our economy. Now, this man runs a state that is crashing its way into the third world a little bit more each day. You see homeless people in parts of the city that they never were camping out. You have an entire apparatus, a city that is built on illegality. That's why they are in a panic now that ICE raids have forced people inside, forced people off their jobs, because the entire city was built on a premise that they were okay with violating federal law, bringing in cheap, near slave labor, but the cheapest labor they could find next to slave labor. They were permitting all kind of depravities in California, such as, one, California is joining a bunch of other blue states to sue Donald Trump and the administration so that they can keep on mutilating children. So that, yes, Carlos, I said that, so they can keep on mutilating children. California coalition of other liberal states sued the Trump administration over efforts to end gender-affirming care for transgender, intersex, and non-binary children and young adults. They call it something nice because, after all, you wouldn't get too many children's parents to raise their hand and say, okay, let's subject my child to this. If they called it by what it is, let's subject your child to medical butchering and mutilation in the name of some weird ideology that they have going on, instead of trying to treat your child if your child has a mental dysfunction. But they are now, the lawsuit says the Justice Department has sent more than 20 subpoenas to doctors and clinics that provide mutilation services. That's not in the article. The Attorney General out there, Rob Bonta, in a statement said efforts have no legal basement, are intended to discourage providers from offering life-saving health care. There is nothing life-saving about these mutilations. And they want the lawsuit to go to Massachusetts, a federal court in Massachusetts. Why? They're judge shopping so that they can get a favorable judge, because they know what's going to happen in Massachusetts. And they're suing over Donald Trump's January 28th executive order, protecting children from chemical and surgical mutilation. And that is exactly what it is. But Democrats, liberals, no matter what, are demanding that they have the right to abuse their children in these horrific manners, and that everybody else does. That's part of what has turned California into a hellhole. And Gavin Newsom has a nerve to stand up because of a jobs report when Trump has brought trillions of dollars into the United States and talk about he's crashing America. California has crashed. Deal with that. Deal with the despicable way that people in the Bay Area have to live. Deal with the violence in Oakland. Deal with the homelessness. Deal with the fact that you built an entire economy on the backs of illegal immigrants against the law, and now your whole state is suffering because someone's finally enforcing the law, and you whine about that every day, Newsom. This guy, I don't know how anybody could honestly think that America wants to be Californicated. If he wins, America becomes Californicate, and nobody wants it, except for Californians who seem stuck on staying in the hellhole, some of them, that Gavin Newsom and these Democrats have created. We got to take a break. Let's do that so we have some time on the other side today. James Golden.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Public Broadcasting announcing today that it will begin to wind down its operations. This after the passage of a federal rescissions package and the release of a Senate Appropriation Committee's appropriations bill, which excludes funding for the CPB in more than 5 decades. Their president saying in a statement, despite the extraordinary efforts of millions of Americans who called, wrote, and petitioned Congress to preserve federal funding for CPB, we now face the difficult reality of closing our operations. We'll get more on that as it comes in.
The term stock market already sounds
that was it, my friends. CPB closing down. James Golden is learning with you, and you heard it right. This is something, my friends, that Carlos tells me that he's familiar with Amish Paradise. This is a popular song, Amish Paradise. We've had Gangsta Paradise and the original Pastime Paradise. Perhaps we'll even hear Amish Paradise. But yes, my friends, that was Patricia Harrison, who was quoted in the Fox News report that you heard earlier about the extraordinary millions of people who called, wrote, petitioned Congress, but they didn't send money. You have millions of Americans. Had they all just sent 1,000, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 grand, maybe the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which is basically a middleman, but they provide expertise. They handled all the music rights. They procured the technical infrastructure on behalf of all these stations. Stay here, folks. Don't go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
You're not running for office right now. Yeah. You're stepping away from that life right now. Who's leading the Democratic Party? I'm just curious.
There are lots of leaders. And
there's generally a leader of the Democratic Party. You know, like, oh, that's the leader of the Democratic Party. Who comes to mind?
I think there are a lot of, I'm not going to go through names because then I'm going to leave somebody out and then I'm going to hear about it. But let me say this. I think it is a mistake for us who want to figure out how to get out and through this and get out of it to put it on the shoulders of any one person. It's really on all of our shoulders.
What's really on all of our shoulders? What do you say, Carlos?
Why are they copying?
Madam Vice President, thank you so much for being
good to
here.
Be with you, Stephen.
The book.
Okay. Princess Diana, I know Princess Diana must be out there. I hope she's out there. If not, someone get a message to her. I go down these rabbit holes once in a while, folks. I can't help it because I'm a consumer of news. There is a story, if we have time tomorrow, Princess Diana, I'm assuming, is going to join us on the Saturday Morning Vibe. If we do, there is a story in the New York Times. Listen to this headline. The bull market for economists is over. It's an ominous sign for the economy. Earning a PhD in economics has long been a reliable path to affluence and prestige. Not anymore. And the more I read this story, the more I read of it, the more it interests me. There is also a huge one, and I don't have time to do it because I want to get to some sound bites, so I put it in the tomorrow morning stack. There is a story, if any of you have ever dealt with HOAs, with homeowner associations, or with these condo or co-op associations, have I got a story for you. It is just beautiful. But I can't get to it till tomorrow. So tomorrow morning, we'll get to that. Now, some of you may be aware that Donald Trump has deployed 2 nuclear submarines near Russia. Serious stuff. Medvedev, former president of Russia, who stepped aside when Vlad Putin said he wanted to come back, and he knows what happens if you cross Vlad. He knows how you'll end up anyway. He's the former president now. But he's been running his mouth.
I found this
and what? I'm sorry, that was Siri telling me that she found something on Medvedev. Thank you,
listening.
Siri. Yes, Siri's listening to everything, apparently. I'm like hearing this voice. Okay, here it is. I found some. Like, what? I didn't know. Okay. Medvedev, said that Trump is playing the ultimate game with Russia. Each new ultimatum is a threat and a step towards war, not between Russia and Ukraine, but with his own country. Don't go down the Sleepy Joe road, is what Medvedev told Donald Trump. Well, Donald Trump is not the one. Okay? He's not the one. He then wrote back to tell Medvedev, the failed former president of Russia who thinks he's still president, to watch his words. He's entering very dangerous territory. And I guess to put an impact and an exclamation point on it, today the United States repositioned 2 nuclear submarines closer to Russia. You're going to threaten us with war? You're going to declare war on the United States? Really? So we shall see where this goes. All right. There's more on the bombshell report about Clinton and Soros planning to demonize, but it's just reaction stuff. That's still going on. There are some other things in the news you've been hearing about. These job reports that's kind of dominated the economic news of the day. But I do want you to listen to a few other things. Let's take a moment and listen to Howard Lutnick, who was on with our own Larry Kudlow. He was on, Larry Kudlow, of course, does a show on Fox as well as doing radio. But Howard Lutnick had some really interesting things to say about that put what Donald Trump is doing with the economy in a great framework. So, cut 6, let's listen in to Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick.
Sure. So there's 4 buckets I want you to think about. Mm-hmm. So there's the opening of the markets, right? So the president is smashing open all the world's markets. So that's growth, right? Finally, our ranchers, our fishermen, our farmers, our entrepreneurs and our businesses can finally sell into Europe, into South Korea, all these countries finally open. So that's huge growth. Then we've got this huge revenue stream, right, from the tariffs. So that's going to knock down our deficits. That's really good. Then you have 2 types of investment. You have classic foreign direct investment, right? That's like a foreign company just invests here. Let's say, I'll give you an example. VW said it's going to spend $23 billion making Audis and VWs in America that they don't do today, right? Mm-hmm. So they're going to grow that in America. So that's building factories. Now, you also have American companies like Meta and Apple. They're also investing $500 billion. You've got over $10 trillion of factories that are going to be built in America, and that's going to empower it. And then the last piece, and this is new, and this was maybe the coolest thing I've ever worked on in my whole life. We got Japan gave us $550 billion. South Korea gave us $350. That's $900 billion into a national security and economic partner, fund, if you will, managed by Donald Trump, where America gets 90% of the profits. And these guys bought down their tariff by setting up this fund so Donald Trump can say, let's pay for that Alaska pipeline. Let's build nuclear, right? Let's build ships in America. And you're going to see us building ships in America, semiconductors in America, power, energy and power. You ain't seen nothing like drill, baby, drill when you give $900 billion to Donald Trump. Now that is going to be drill, baby, drill.
All right, well.
Now, Carlos, I need you to hold on to this cut for tomorrow morning. Yes, 8:30ish. Because this is really incredible. Let's just really quickly, I know you just heard it, but this is what the big picture is. The ability for Americans to sell in places we have not sold before. We were locked out of so many markets that have been trading here. And so you have a complaint from Fareed Zakaria in the Washington Post, and he's talking about how Trump has upset the world order. Like there is something wrong with upsetting the world order when it comes to this is the story. I'm just pulling it out right now. It was Fareed Zakaria. Trump's tariffs are undermining the peaceful, prosperous world order. Americans, he claims, are losing sight of the big story, which is a seismic shift in world affairs. The United States, the creator and upholder of the global economy, now imposing its highest average tariff rate in nearly a century, now has the highest tariffs of any major economy in the world. Trump reversing 80 years of American economic and foreign policy that has consistently pushed countries to remove restrictions and taxes on trade. The effects of this policy not to be measured in today's stock prices, but rather in the kind of world that will emerge as a result. Well, here's one thing. The world will take care of itself, the way that it deals with it, the so-called world. But Americans have been getting shortchanged. And just because everybody else has been getting, or many others, not everyone else, but because many other countries have benefited from taking advantage of America's position doesn't mean, and their economies have grown. There's no question about it. In fact, I saw a news story the other day with it was framed as one of the downsides of what's happening in trade is that in some other countries now, because of these tariffs, there are economic impacts. And so a lot of people counted their rise of the middle class and their middle class helping nations rise out of poverty directly related to trade with the United States, trade that was imbalanced because the United States at the same time could not trade with some of these other countries. And now these countries are finding it a hard way to go. And okay, that is part of the pain that happens with change. What Mr. Zakaria, I think, might be missing is what the American attitudes are toward globalism. He apparently and others view globalism as a great deal because of that, because it lifts other nations out of poverty. But I think America is redefining its role. What good is lifting other countries out of poverty if America becomes more impoverished? If Americans can't work, if Americans can't innovate, if Americans can't sell their goods in the open market, what is the good of benefiting others while you're trying to put out fires in other countries while your own house is burning down? What good is that? And I think that's where we are right now. We're trying to put out the fires in America. And we will have to see where all this plays out. Again, this is something I hope to spend more time speaking about. I also, folks, I've been trying to get to this gerrymandering story. Hakeem Jeffries traveled down to Texans to scold the Texans and tell the Texans how to do. Let's cut 17 very quickly.
It's important for us to make clear to the people of Texas that this effort to undermine their ability for a free and fair election to occur is going to hurt their quality of life. Democrats, independents, and Republicans alike. This Texas gerrymander will hurt your
Let's just
quality
stop
of
it
life.
right there. How? And I'm going to play this one again tomorrow, too. How is this going to hurt people? How is this going to hurt Republicans? How is gaining 5 seats, which, by the way, should reflect what the population of Texas has become, a continued and more red state, for the most part? How does it hurt Republicans to actually adjust to political reality? But of course, like everything else the Democrats do, they are tying this solely around race. But you know what? I think Americans, except for liberals can still, you hear it everywhere. You hear it with this blue jeans controversy that is still raging over social media. And I mean raging. In fact, Vice President Vance was asked about that. Have that one queued up there, Carlos. But here's the point I'm making. Everybody else, except for Democrats and liberals, getting so sick of this and not getting. We have been sick of this race-centric Democrat Party stuff. And you know what? He can keep on. And Jasmine can keep on running her mouth about how racist things are, how racist people are, pointing fingers as being racist. Apparently, they don't learn their lessons. Princess Di is not going to be with us tomorrow. I don't think. Or I'm just seeing the text. I can't read it clearly. Oh, boy. It looks like we're going to have an absence there. Anyway, we'll get to some of this stuff. You have that J.D. Vance stuff? Let's listen to this.
Important discussion happening in our country today, which is Sydney Sweeney. Yeah. So the Democrats have essentially been like, Sydney Sweeney represents like a Nazi white supremacy issue. Do you think it's that deep, and do you think attacking Sydney Sweeney is how they can win back young males?
Is that a good move? Yeah, my political advice to the Democrats is continue to tell everybody who thinks Sydney Sweeney is attractive is a Nazi. that appears to be their actual strategy. I mean, it actually reveals something pretty interesting about the Dems, though, which is that you have like a normal all-American beautiful girl doing like a normal jeans ad, right? They're trying to sell jeans to kids in America, and they have managed to so unhinge themselves over this thing. And it's like, you guys, did you learn nothing from the November 2024 election? Like, I actually thought that one of the lessons they might take is we're going to be less crazy. The lesson they have apparently taken is we're going to attack people as Nazis for thinking Sydney Sweeney is beautiful. Great strategy, guys. That's how you're going to win the midterm, especially young American men.
Their course correction lasted about 30 seconds.
That's right. Lasted 30 seconds. Somehow has gotten even crazier. But again, it's just so much of the Democrats is oriented around hostility to basic American life. So you have a pretty girl doing a jeans ad and they can't help but freak out. It reveals a lot more about them than it does us.
No question.
Yeah, I knew that, Carlos. Carlos told me, we have to break. Yeah, I know. So let's do that, Carlos. Let's break. James Golden, Snerdley with you. Don't go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is your sign to take the name of that orange clown who we all collectively hate worldwide, put it on a piece of paper, put it in a jar, seal that jar, and put it in the back of your freezer. He wants to use ice against us? Well, we can ice him out too, baby.
Did you understand that this woman who hates Trump, and we all hate Trump, speaking for themselves, her idea, her sign, what to do, since they're so ticked off with the ICE policy, with ICE actually enforcing American law, what she wants her fellow liberals to do is put Donald Trump's name in something, like a jar, and you put his name in the jar and then stick it in the back of your freezer. And that way you will be icing Trump. Yeah, that's the new idea. My friends, may God bless, protect each and every single one of you, your families, your loved ones. Love and gratitude for your being here with me, allowing me to be with you. God willing, we are back in the morning, and we hope you are with us. In the meantime, my friends, I bid you adieu. Celebrating the birthday today, by the way, of Chuck D, Public Enemy. We got to go. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
When you're having a baby, there's a lot on your mind. At Northwell's Staten Island University Hospital, you can rest easy with our reimagined labor and delivery experience. Our new Grapuso Women and Newborn Center provides private suites, overnight accommodations for a loved one, and a top-level NICU, all powered by the team that cares for the most moms and babies in New York. It's care made for Staten Island and made for you. Visit northwell.edu/newbaby. Staten Island University Hospital. Raise health.